New Wave Indie Film, Tribeca Festival 2024, Village East by Angelica Theater. Received credentials to the virtual part of Tribeca, but couldn't find New Wave on that side of the festival. So for the second time in 2 weeks, dropped to $33. After reading the description, New Wave immediately shot to the top, to my top priority to review list. Now, New Wave is growing up in the 80s with what was considered New Wave music, along with several other genres. I think that was probably a huge contribution to it, but the film is about so much more than just music. Yes, it does play a part of it. The culture of the Vietnamese New Wave music movement is a huge part of the film. But it goes into so much, the film is so much more multifaceted and multi-dimensional. It tells the story of the Vietnamese family who were refugees, and I hate to use that term, but to America during the war. I swear I have a fucking magnet for films that really hit on a deep personal level with me, or threaten to resurrect ghosts that should stay buried. One aspect of New Wave and one part of New Wave really, it hit deep and personal with me, and kind of made me see something in a different light in my own life, as far as a relationship goes with a certain family member. And that part was the relationship between Michelle and her mother. Now, without going into too many details and dragging this thing out like I usually do, here's what I loved about the film. Number one, like I said, it is multifaceted, multi-dimensional, not just about one or two, not just about the music, not just about the lifestyle. The second thing is that it used actual video footage, including footage from the Vietnam War, from the people who were trying to escape the war and come to America. Completely different perspective. It doesn't go overboard on it, but it's just enough to add the factual realism of the film. Another aspect I love, that is like my favorite part of the film, where it didn't present the Vietnamese escapees, refugees, whatever term you want to use, as victims or, hey, we want you, we want you to feel bad for us. Somehow, the Vietnamese that came over here, that immigrated to the United States during that time period, it came across to me as they were trying to create, and maintain a balance between keeping their culture alive, but also becoming American citizens and making the American culture a part of their lives also, which is something that is kind of missing in today's world, in today's American society. And and how difficult it was between generations of the older Vietnamese versus the kids and the teenagers. That is truly my favorite. That is truly my favorite part of it, aspect of the film. There's so many aspects of this film that were excellent and pulled off perfectly. Where even, no matter who you are, there are certain periods, moments in the film that will hit home with you, that will hit you on a deep personal level, whether it was when you were growing up as a teenager, your relationship with your family, with your parents or whatever. I believe in the description, synopsis, there's It said a love letter to anyone who's had a difficult relationship with their parents, and there's like several different things mentioned there, and the film really stayed tight to that. It was very believable. I mean, very true, very factual, without becoming a boring documentary. I mean, not all documentaries are boring, don't get me wrong, I love the good documentary, but it came across as something that you became absorbed in, something that you didn't want to look away. I didn't want to look away from the film for a split second. Another final aspect about making this obscenely long that I loved was, and I just blanked on it. So here's my hang-ups with the film, and the other side of it. Number one, where instead of with the music, the main focus was apparently became one of the artists who was doing to make a name for herself, was basically covering other covering American artists and she achieved massive success in the Vietnamese community and globally through that. But, and I mentioned this to a couple people there, I said that it provided a narrow perspective on the actual Vietnamese new wave music. And as a music being my first love, fell in love with it July 4th, 1976. I'm 53 years old right now. That was like a major hang up with me. Second thing, that they did show like the downside to the culture and the music scene, but it was only touched on, and it could have gone into a more in-depth perspective to present both sides of it right there. I don't know the reasons. Hopefully I can get an interview with the filmmaker. I really want this one, but obviously you can't drag the film out too long. All those, including those aspects and others, would really drag the film out. But what I would love to see is either a part 2 or kind of like another version, another film made with these different aspects included in it. Overall, New Wave is a film you must see. I know there's several of these that I've added to my list. Was it worth the $33 to the 33 bucks that is paid for the ticket? Another film easily worth every penny, including the intros and Q&A at the end. Was it worth basically 2 hours sitting at the theater on a gorgeous, as you can tell, summer day here in New York City? I completely forgot about the outside world. That's how immersive the film was and how believable it was. You gotta check this film out. Take care, everybody. To your family and friends. As always, stay safe. I want to keep this one short, yeah, right? Michael Phoenix, founder, staff, Fire City Illusion from its home, New York City. Wishing you only the best and much success in your lives.